All right, so we got all these things that we need to fix. Now, if you got plenty of time, you could just go through and do them all one by one. But what if you don't have plenty of time? For most people who don't have plenty of time, so we need a method to be able to prioritize and order this stuff and go through them in the most valuable way. The difference between a good video and a great video is in the refinement. Now I'm going to show you a little Agile technique that I use for my videos. All you need is a post-it note and a Sharpie and what I want for my birthday, Lego and toys. Now first thing you need to do is just create 2 columns. To do and done. Just write down on a post-it note. Of course you can do some fancy little borders if you like. Now what I found is when you're actually going through and you're editing, you tend to get stuck in that stop start, and so you are either going to A, miss something, or B, you just don't get the flow of the video. And I found one time I was just doing this ski video for some friends, and we sat down and we watched it on the couch, and as we're watching I thought, oh, this bit's terrible. I just had to fast forward through this one bit. So basically I just edit until I'm happy with the video, and then once I've done that, I need to actually get out of the working space and go and watch it somewhere else. So I export it, I'll either save it to the mobile or send it to the Apple TV and sit down on the couch and watch it. But the thing to remember is you need to be able to see the time and you need to have your post-it notes ready. And essentially all you're doing is going through, reviewing the entire film from start to finish, and taking note of the time and anything you want to change. So I've got to this bit in the video, it's 7 minutes in, and so I just go 7 minutes and 2 seconds, a bit slow. Whatever it is, like just put it up on the wall. Now, this is the thing, you're going to go through it and you're going to find a whole bunch of stuff in there. So generally I find lots of little bits, 1 minute and 20 seconds, there's a duplicated bit. And so it's a quick, easy fix, right? It's something that's really simple. Now you'll find a whole bunch of those. So there'll be some bits where, say for example, 1 minute 30, there's a noise in the background.
What do you think of Trippo?
Then there'll be other fundamental things. So for example, I was going through and I found there's one section where I'm talking and it's just talking for way too long, right? So I might go 4 minutes and whatever it is, talking too much, right? That's not so easy to fix, right? That's going to take a little bit longer to fix, right? That's not so easy. Right, so here's an example of one I did for the ski video that I just put out. So there's a bunch of stuff in here, speed ramp to music. So I wanted to make sure there was a part that was where Zoe's coming up towards the camera and that was too long. So I wanted to speed ramp into it. So it's just little enhancements. Well, I like this example. So less downhill and more skiing. So I felt as though that one section just had too much of the one thing and just had too much of the downhill stuff. Like it looks really good. So when you're editing, you're going through and go, that bit looks great, that bit looks great. Just throw that bit in. Oh, that one's got to go in there as well. But then when you watch it back, it's like that just goes on forever, right? And that sort of stuff is the stuff you're not necessarily going to pick up while you're in Premiere, pick up when you're watching it through properly. All right, so we got all these things that we need to fix. Now, if you got plenty of time, you could just go through and do them all one by one. So we need a method to be able to prioritize and order this stuff and go through them in the most valuable way. So what we're going to do is essentially we're going to do 2 things to each of these. We're going to size each of them, and then we're going to add a value to each of these. And the most basic way we can do that is just use t-shirt size. So I'm just going to use small, medium, and large, right? So small, medium, and large to how big this piece is to fix, right? So for example, something fundamental to the flow is going to be a large, right? That's going to take some thought. I don't know exactly how it's going to be a large. And then something like this one where there's a noise in the background.
What do you think of Trippo?
I'm going to call that a medium because I don't know to what extent I'm going to be able to get rid of that noise. Sometimes it's going to be really easy, but if it's over the top of some other voice, then I need that. Spend a little bit more time on it. A little duplicated bit, right? That's a small, right? Because that's just something I can do really quickly. So go through and you size each of these. Now, then what we're going to do is just look at them as a priority. What is most important? Now, pace issues are both a large, but they're also a high priority, right? So, because if you've got some pace issues, then the video is gonna suck. So, whereas something like this, a little duplicated bit, That's high value because it looks like crap, but it's really small. And then something like this, talking too much, I'm gonna say that's pretty small to fix, but it's also a bit of a medium. It's like, yeah, it's bad, but it's not that bad. Noise in the background, I'm gonna call that a low, because most people will just tolerate that, right? Not such a big deal. This bit's a bit too slow. I've called it a large. I'm gonna call it a low. Like, it's similar to the pace issue, but it's like, it depends on the mood that people are in when they're watching it, really. So why do we size them? Why are we giving them sort of a priority? It's basically so we can put them up on the wall in an order of priority. So essentially, anything that's large but is low value goes to the very bottom. Anything that's small and high value goes to the top, right? So that way we're ensuring that all the stuff that we can get done quickly and are high priority, they're the ones that we're going to tackle first. So if we run out of time to edit through this stuff, the stuff that we're not going to get to is the stuff that is low value and takes lots of time. So essentially just go through, look for all the highs, find all the highs, grab the smalls of the highs, put them up first. High, 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 that one's a high. It's a high, but it's a large. Then I've got a medium and a low, so I'm going to put that down further. I've got a low, a large and a low, right? So if this means that it takes a long time and it's not really that high of a priority, goes down the very bottom of the list. And then I've got a small and a medium priority, so it's lower than the high priority, smaller than the large, right? So we're going to move that. So I'm going to put it in there because I can get it done quickly, and it's a medium priority, whereas the other one may be a high priority, but it's large. So we're going to come back to that. Does that make sense? Now, of course, you don't have to use post-it notes. You can also use electronic forms. So I use Trello. I just create I've got my usual backlog and everything there of all the videos that I want to make. And then I've got my work in progress, but I've also then got a review column. So I just create a column and call it review, and then do the exact same thing, but just do that in Trello instead, and then you can prioritize the order, based on where it sits in the Trello board. Worst case scenario, sometimes I do review it at lunchtime while I'm at work, and just using my mobile phone. It's a bit stop and start, but it is just another way to do it. Throw some AirPods on and just review, and then you just got to bounce back and forth. But if you've got another way to write it down, then that is better. So that's it. You jump back in the Premiere and then you start knocking through this stuff. And this is just to ensuring that you are doing the most valuable stuff and you're using your time most effectively. And once you start editing, done that bit goes to done, right? Done that bit goes to done. And you just keep knocking through it. Now, eventually you might get to one of these large ones and then go, well, I can do this bit and break it up into smaller pieces, right? So then you can get that done quicker and leave the other stuff to later. Give us a like if you found that helpful. Obviously helps with building this new channel. Please give us a subscribe if you want to see more of this sort of agile techniques for video making and so on. Also just going through, how I use GoPros and how I use my drones, etc. and all that sort of techie fun stuff. Anyway, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.